This is the last poem in the book. It's a little bit longer. Has some more references to Los Alamos in it. It's called You Were Born. My dear, you were born with that poison song singing through your veins, and you trail a wide train of war where you go. Dial up the chandelier, new hurricanes swirl. Step through the parting doors into the drugstore, more big-eyed children amassing at the border. I know it's not your fault, as in you killed them. You just killed everything breathing. By you, I mean the sun lamps we call our lives, my friends, elegiac, on auto-correct, as they will have been, having come so late after everything can't stop weeping at the gleaming Apple flagship. It's a new mode of poetry called West Melancholy. Google it. Click that link for a pair of lady feet prancing around in strappy red 9 West melancholy sandals to that Robin Thicke good girl beat. You know you kind of want to buy them now. They zip up the back, so hot they're sold out. They're Greekish, called open-toed, caged booties. What is melancholy but the global brand rapture, the shining spew of song from the poison entrails of all my heroes? Who are you guys, my friends, alive and in love with nothing but partying at this funeral for the 80s glam bands and their simplistic misogyny? Yes, every rose has its thorn, just like every cowboy sings his sad, sad song of the good old days of gunfire in utero. Once born in war, you have to live there. But we, me and my spirit slut shoes, we just pretend we can keep on bleeding these horseshoe crabs of their primordial blue blood. You read about that on I Fucking Love Science, right? They're not crabs at all, but ancient pre-dinosaur sea spiders, and their blood can detect even the tiniest trace of evil microbe invaders on that plastic apparatus about to be inserted in your body. Pacemaker, false boobs, hernia net, hypodermic. They come to breed in shallow seas each spring in the Bay of Delaware, named for the Lord de la War. So the crabs crowd up in the bay to breed beneath the new and full moons in the months of May and June. And the watermen wade in, grab them by the shell, and toss them on trucks to a lab where lab people insert a needle to the heart, drain 30% of the blood, and send them back to the water of the war. 1 quart goes for $15K. It seems fake, but it's real, like the teenage girl I once saw at the National Zoo, pointing at every sad skin sack in its booty cage, pronouncing, "That's fake," a word of London gang slang, from when to fake a man out and out meant to hurt him all the way up to dead, as my dad used to say, quoting the public service ad on TV about downed power lines in the garden of earthly Lost Almost. Standing up on a bluff with Lucretius, watching the shipwreck rising up toward us. Here it comes, my friends. I spit on poetry with Epicurus in the hope of being spit on in return. I did not mean for this to be a poem about horseshoe crabs and caged booties, but now that I've watched that 20 seconds on YouTube of feet twirling slowly over and over, ads for sad high heels keep showing up in my Facebook feed. And I can't stop thinking of that waterman in the low-res nature video on my screen, holding the ancient pre-dinosaur sea spider to his face, saying, "See, they're harmless," as with its claws it gently probes his cheeks. He speaks as a fisherman of the privilege to return his prey, but in fact, it's not clear how many survive the bleeding and whether it reduces spawning. And there's a whole other story here about a bird called the red knot that seems to be going extinct, that makes one of the longest migrations of any creature from Tierra del Fuego to the Arctic and relies on the greenish strings of horseshoe crab eggs clotted up on the shore at just this time for fuel to complete its journey. Though I think the video only features the bird because horseshoe crabs are not filled with personality, though they do have 10 eyes. And the industry compares the crabs to humans donating blood, but of course the crabs are forced. And Allison Argo, the filmmaker and narrator, intones, "There is hardly a person alive who does not owe thanks to the horseshoe crab." But I wonder about all the people alive on Earth who never get treated with a specialty pharmaceutical through an intravenous drip. And I remember the trips we took to the Delaware shore without ever knowing about the tiny horseshoe crab larvae hopping along the sand floor, and the many trips I took to the emergency room for a time, and the brownish purple IV bruises of my hands and arms. And the horseshoe crab I saw washed up near the East River once, but didn't think much about it. I meant to end this poem with a tight metaphor about the band Poison from the 80s, and how, in retrospect, that time with its Cold War, which literally nourished me, and the men in makeup on my bedroom wall, seems sort of innocent now, and that maybe more insidious forms of poison have invaded all of us alive on the planet, plant, human, and animal. And one poison is how we know we kind of want that melancholy that lets we, who are wealthy in the West, relax into our sadness about the end of all the stuff we destroyed without knowing or trying, that clipped and clever cynicism that is a kind of rubbernecking for we who are well off, what the poet and scholar Chris Nealon calls masochistic species shame. So, I am failing at this poem. But maybe failure is a good place to dwell. Come in under the shadow of the blood-red rock of the white man's bank. I can show you how the old war froze in place like two gunfighters facing off forever, hands on holsters, but in this case, it's two nations bristling with missiles, still on hair trigger, high alert, set to launch in 15 minutes or less at all of them and all of us. My dears, I can show you fear in approximately 3,097 warheads set on missiles, how the practice of bombing regular people from the air evolved out of World War I through the British policing Iraqis with bombs in the 1920s, how your shadow falls behind you and rises to meet you, and you have never breathed any other air but this war. The crabs know this too, in their way, and the zoos with their relic masticators, and the sad, sad sandal stitchers. There is no other poem but this one, a heap of broken images where the sun beats on the dead trees, and the dry stone gives no sound of water, only failure. Is there no other ending but this one, the fucked up fail of this war way of being in the world? How should I know? I'm not your Sybil hanging out in a jar. We all will be the ones to make that call. We the targets. We the people with our fingers on the trigger. We the late, the start.